Hey, welcome to the Fatherless Cheat Sheet. I'm Andrew, your host, and today on the show, we're dialing things in, we're buttoning things up, we're synergizing, we're circling back, we're networking, baby. We're going to talk about networking, its importance. It's very important. We're going to talk about it in relation to fatherlessness. If you don't have that usher, that old man to bring you to the country club, if you're not the son in Ray and Sons Electrical, I always had a little bit of a take my ball and go home mentality with this because I always had, I guess, an inferiority complex with that. I always thought every single person's dad was doing just what I said, taking them to those places, introducing them to the masters of the universe who were eventually going to get them into that college or get them that job. And honestly, I don't even know how often that happens. I have no clue. Because it was all just assumptions and it was just whatever my hurt was manifesting in another way. And to my detriment. I would also say that in terms of networking, admittedly and historically, I've always been great with the initial meet, with that working the room type of thing. But for me personally, working on the follow-up, the follow-through, not feeling like I was bothering somebody. I don't want to bug them. I don't want to ask for too much. I don't want to do this or do that. So all things I got to talk to today with someone who is excellent at networking, at sales. His name is Bill Valone. He's very, very genuine in his efforts. He makes real connections, I would tell you, because I could smell bullshit from 10 miles away. I said I wasn't going to curse on this episode, but I just blew that one. He really means it. There's the word intentional. He's very intentional about putting people together and putting people in a position to get to that next lily pad, whatever that next thing is. And if he can help, he really means it. And he's a likable guy. And he's comfortable with corporate jargon like I'm comfortable using the F-bomb. He's polished. He's smart, and he really, boy, we crammed a lot into this conversation. So I'm just going to leave the intro a little bit shorter than usual and let you enjoy some of the conversation. Bill is he's currently a director of sales for a leading PEO. He's got 25 years of sales experience, and he's leading a team of sellers right now. And I can see how he's thriving at that because he's a great mentor. And he's very clear in his messaging, and he's very, as you'll see on the show, he's very clear in the path forward and helping people with those skills to get to where they're going next. So I hope you enjoy it. I think you will. I think this is a very interesting topic to me. This topic has always sort of been a rock in my shoe. And even now, he sort of dispelled some things that I had misnomers about. And so it was a great conversation. I hope you like it. The Fatherless Cheat Sheet. Check it out. Hey, welcome to the Fatherless Cheat Sheet. I have here with me Bill Valone, the Terminator in the Hugo Boss suit. A little bit lighter touch than the Terminator, but it is really, really great to have Bill with us. Bill, thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for having me. If I get to spend more time with you, I know I'm in the right place.
Oh, another person with just terrible taste in humans. Maybe we could correct that in some way, but I love this topic.
You seem to have enough friends, though. You might be on the right track.
I do, but I'm looking to get rid of some people. I don't know if there's I'm just kidding.
Tell me who.
I'll tell you off camera. No, I'm not. I'm very happy, right? I'm very blessed and happy. This is a topic that I think is very important, especially to the fatherless, people who didn't have someone to sort of usher them along to a large degree. There is an element of, in my opinion, and we'll get into this, some semblance of nepotism, a connection to that, who's friends with who, and maybe I'm hoping that you can dispel some of that and also help the fatherless or help people who don't really have someone to usher them, give them some tools to say, okay, I'm just out of college. I can do this, and this, and go from there. But what I want to do is I kind of want to work backwards right now and sort of start with like a real meat and potatoes question, if that's okay. We'll bounce around a little bit,
Sure.
but so
I'm a vegan, so you just insulted me, but that's okay.
I'm sorry
Wait,
about
way
that.
to start. Way to know the audience.
Well, that's it. You send me. That's it. We're gonna believe me. It's not the first time I'd be sent to HR. Okay, so what I say is this: is it absolutely imperative to elite networking that you either own or are wearing a puffer vest to do it?
um, interestingly enough, the puffer vest is so we can identify the people not to talk to.
I like that.
We
That's
don't tell them that though. It's like
okay.
they're in their own colony, so they think it's safe. But the
That's it.
puffer vest is the ones that you're just like,
Okay.
you know,
We ditched those. I never understood the puffer vest. It was sleeves. I like sleeves, right?
I don't know. The puffer vest became a thing. Like,
It's
what
a
happened to
thing.
just dressing for success? They used to say, dress for success. I mean,
Well,
you got
you
these
look like
guys
a
in the
million
hedge funds. They
bucks.
look like they want to be lumberjacks. It doesn't
Yeah.
make
Well,
sense.
maybe they're living dual lives. Everybody wants to do something else that they're not doing. I don't know. That's maybe another episode
It's a
you can
big
come
problem.
back on. But in all seriousness, I have to say, you are one of the most efficient, genuine, and caring connectors. Really, I think you have not only do you have a talent for it, but I think there's a side of it that there's an altruistic side that you can see that you get something out of it. And so can you talk about that a little bit, like what
Yeah, I
it
like it.
gives you? Yeah.
I like it. I like doing it. It's benefited me in the past, and it feels good to do it.
Hmm.
Um, and I generally like helping people. Like, I don't know how to explain it to people because sometimes they ask, like, well, why do you do it? Why do you do it? It's like, whether it's a karmic thing or just good energy, uh, if you help somebody, it's just always a good decision. It very rarely leads you to a bad place, right? So
Yeah.
if you do enough good things, whether it's help people, connect people, um, that kind of surrounds you with good energy. Good
Yeah.
networking is good karma, right? And if you're in sales, if you're in a world where you don't dig dishes for a living and your job is to meet people, or else you can't put food on the table.
Yeah.
What a better way to meet the next new person to talk to by helping them.
Yeah.
It sets a playing field of caring and ultimately sets a standard that, like, this is kind of what I expect in the relationships is I'm going to help you, you're going to help me, but we're generally going to look out for each other.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. And I like the idea, whatever you're doing in life, not just in the corporate world or business or whatever it is, the idea of a mutually beneficial relationship. I think that's really important. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's talk to some young audience members. If you're coming out of college and there's only so much value you can add, what's maybe something they can do to set themselves apart in a networking scenario, um, to sort of,
Yeah, it it's hard, right? So let's not sugarcoat it. Like, if you network or are in sales for 20 years, it becomes a lot easier than year one or two, right? It is about uh, a pipeline, if you will, or a network of people that you can call on. And the longer you do it, the easier that becomes, because the contacts in your cell phone just grow, right? Your
mhm,
email contacts grow. If you're out of college and you don't immediately have a network to tap into, it can be harder. But that doesn't mean you can't do it. It requires that you then be more intentional about it, and you actually just show up as a good, honest, genuine person. Because that's how you'll differentiate yourself from the ones that are kind of overtly there to get something, or maybe
mhm.
assaulting the task, right?
Yeah.
Trying too hard, bringing too much energy to the situation. It's hard, but patience always wins out in these things, right? So the misconception is that networking is, you got to go into a room of 100 people and you have to be the guy that talks to all 100 people, right? You see in the movies the guy with the wine glass and he's like moving and shaking and he's talking to this guy and talking to that one, and he's kind of walking through the crowd. Hey, Steve. Hey, Joe. Right? That's not what networking is. Networking is literally finding one new person to talk to every day. You don't need to talk to 100 people at a time. It doesn't actually translate.
Mhm.
Your network of people works if you literally just wake up every day and find one new person that you've never met or you've never talked to before, and you talk to that person. And if you do that every day, end of the month, you got 30 new people.
Yeah.
End of the year, you got a whole inventory of people that you've met and that you can recall might be helpful, or you can access them for information or knowledge,
Yeah.
right? So it's not this Herculean task that people think. It seems that way, but if you boil it down to really just one new person a day, it works.
Yeah. Yeah, when you simplify it like that, it makes a lot of sense. I, I've always had a little bit of an issue with a couple different things about networking. One of them is that to me, it's always had sort of a patina of opportunism, and it feels a little bit greasy, and it feels a little bit
Mhm.
like a business card swap. That patina around it that feels a little icky sometimes. Can you dispel some of that?
It's a great question. It is icky. It's weird, right?
Mhm.
If you think of dating or you think of making friends, like, are they going to like me? Do I have something to offer? Like you can't help but shine a light on like your internal dialogue of wondering if you're good enough to have these conversations. And I think that people that don't have, you know, a strong sense of self, which I didn't for a long time, you have to develop that, right? For people who don't have a strong sense of self, then what they'll do is they will the opportunistic nature of them will come through up front,
Mm.
right? They will seem like the person who's just out to get something. And that's fine. There are plenty of those people. We're never going to change everybody. But if
Yeah.
you want to differentiate yourself, over time, those people will always exist. But if you can identify them because you're being genuine and they don't actually sound as transparent, or maybe there's just a feeling that you get that of like, why is that person saying that? I didn't really need to know all of that information, right? They're not
Yeah.
playing tennis with me. They're trying too hard. You got to just kind of put that in your head of like, well, do I want to be like that or do I don't? Right? Be
Yeah.
intentional of understanding of like the lens that you're giving people to look at you through. If you're willing to look yourself in the mirror and be like, yeah, that's how I showed up to a situation, then that's the way you'll be reflected in others. If you don't like what you're seeing, then you probably should change your approach. But it
Yeah.
is, I mean, like it is icky. Networking is an element of what can you do for me? What can I do for you?
Mhm.
Um, but you kind of just lean into that and navigate the fact that people are there to make money or make connections or to make sales, and you are there for the same reason, but how you go about it is what will either give you longevity or differentiate you, right?
Yeah. Well said. I always also I always had an issue with feeling like I was putting somebody out or bothering somebody and didn't want to be when I was quite a bit younger, but still to some
Sure.
degree. How do you navigate that a little bit if you feel like you're bugging somebody too much? And then if you can, you have the floor, you're the expert. What then are the no-nos? What are the things then to not do? What's too much proactivity?
Yeah. So the old adage of like, you know, don't take no for an answer is bullshit. Like no means no. Sometimes we learned that in schools, and you know, having having enough inventory of people to talk to means that that one conversation you're having doesn't mean as much. So you're not going to put so much stress on it. If you don't get it right, if you come off too strong, or if that person's just not buying what you're selling, as they say, you can move on and you find another person to speak to, right? It only becomes overdetermined when the person doing the networking or the person trying to sell something doesn't understand that it really truly is round peg in a square hole and they just keep jamming it in,
Mhm.
right? Um, overselling is a thing, right? And what happens, what I've learned in my experience is that someone always figures it out. If you sell somebody something they don't need, you sell on fear, you sell on opportunity, you sell on, you know, um, discounted pricing. Eventually, the person, if they're smart enough, turns around and realizes that they didn't need what you just sold them in the first place. And they either give it back or they return it or they cancel the contract.
Yeah.
And so, if you're not genuinely trying to offer something that's either A, you believe in it, or B, of value to somebody, then you got to move on to the next new person, right?
Mhm.
And the people that don't, the people that stay there too long, are the ones that create that ickiness factor, the moments where they're over trying or trying too much, trying too hard. And there are plenty of people out there. Not everybody's made for sales. Not everybody's made to be in a career where networking is required, right? And thankfully, those people still exist. So everybody who really wants to be a student of this game, who wants to take their craft seriously, can differentiate themselves. Someone's not getting what you're talking about, move on.
Yeah.
You know, uh, if you say it 3 times and in 3 different ways, and someone still doesn't understand it, you're either communicating poorly,
Yeah.
or they just don't want to believe what you're saying, or they don't need to believe what you're saying, or it's just not a good fit, and you got to move on.
Yeah. I would say you have a really specific skill set, and it's nuanced and it's interesting because you're very analytically minded. I've been with you at events, and you really are like the Terminator and Hugo Boss, because you sort of dial in on your target, you make an intro very naturally, and then you move on to the next thing. I think I actually saw your legs sort of speed up independently of your torso and just move on to the next thing. Like, remember that
Right.
Levi's commercial with the jeans that were like independent of the guy's body? So you just,
Yeah.
it's almost like you're on this mission. If someone's not blessed with that skill set and the personality, what are some skills that you can maybe work on to be more comfortable in a
Yeah.
viable networking setting?
It's a great question because there is no one approach, but everybody really does a better job at this if they make it somewhat personalized, right? If they can create a narrative or a storytelling property, or ultimately something that's personal, it always helps. But very simply, if you're afraid of networking, make it a game, right? Make it a very simple risk reward scenario, or like, make it a game. Kids love to play games, so you could teach them how to do it early. Sales are rewarded by making sales, so there's always that payout at the end. But if you're walking into a room and you're hesitant to network, boil it down to this. I always tell new people in sales, take 20 business cards, or 10, however many you think is appropriate for the room you're walking into. And you put them in your pocket, and you visualize, you literally turn that stack of business cards into a key in your mind. And on that door that you just walked through, there's a lock. And the only way you can leave the room is if you give out all 10 business cards. As soon as you give out the 10th card, the key manifests itself. And if you're really not feeling good still, you can run out that door. It's like Zelda. It's like you need the
Yeah.
key to get to the next level.
Right.
So then it becomes like, okay, I just got to give this card to someone. And then you do it. And
Yeah.
then you reach back in your pocket and you do it again. You got to remember, when you go to networking events, everybody's there for the same reason. So starting a conversation shouldn't be that hard. Like, I literally say to people like, hey, I'm here to meet people, so I'm going to jump in for a second. I'd like to introduce myself and hear what you have to say. I know you guys are just talking, but I didn't get to meet you yet, and I'm leaving in 5 minutes. Can we spend 5 minutes together before I walk out? Like, that's the whole idea. Everybody's there, but everybody just like gets together in these small circles, and no one actually makes a game of it.
Sure.
So it's about creating an environment where you can plug into some type of energetic feed
Yeah.
and make the most of it. Like, why'd you leave your house in the first place if you're not gonna do the job?
Yeah. That's a great point, because I think a lot of the time, and boy, you've got a bundle of confidence, bales of hay of confidence to do that. And a lot of people are terrified of that thing. And I think hopefully maybe someone will sort of be inspired by that, even to make a small step, because it is
That's a
really
great point,
effective.
though. Like, there are so many people who are They either lack confidence, they're nervous, they're new, right? So why not own that? Why not step into that narrative and say to somebody, listen, I'm new to networking. I'm a little nervous to have this conversation, but I really would love to know what you do for a living. My job is to do X, Y, and Z. Could you tell me a little bit about what you do? And that's the easiest opening line in any networking session. You know, I still use this to this day. If you don't know what to say, if you're nervous about speaking about yourself and you don't have the confidence yet, the beauty about being in most networking sessions is that everybody likes to talk about themselves anyway. So all you got to do is become a good listener.
Yeah.
Here's the easiest opening line. Hey, my name is Bill. What do you do for a living?
Right.
Hey, Andrew. What do you do? You know, you look at the name tag. Fatherless Cheat Sheet. Tell me more about that. What is that?
Yeah.
It's
What's
a
this
natural
podcast that I do for you see that? See how effective
right.
you are? I was
But you're
about to
naturally
tell
inclined to
you.
start talking, right? I softball pitched you a
Speak,
beach ball, and all I have to do is sit there and now listen. And the
speaking
pressure's
of,
off of me as someone learning how to network, who doesn't have their story down, someone who doesn't have the confidence, because now all I'm doing is educating myself. I'm listening to 10, 15, 20 people talk about themselves, and now I can figure out, how do I talk about myself? What did I like that I heard? Who
yeah,
told a genuine story? Who was a bullshit artist? Who didn't I like? Who talked too much? Who overtalked? Who cursed? Who was, just oddly off in their talk tracks? Like who's pontificating about politics or religion in the
right.
wrong setting? Like people take these moments to like tell us how you feel about the fact that your chicken salad sandwich wasn't right. Look, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about whatever it is that the networking event or the sales are about,
See,
right?
as a
So
as a writer,
you
as a
get an
storyteller,
education by listening.
I want to know what was wrong with the chicken salad? Tell me what happened. Were there
The
too
mayo
many
ratio is
craisins?
very important,
You
and
got to
there
be
has to be a
careful.
crunch in it. Where people fail is like
You
chicken
like
salad, tuna salad, egg
just that.
salad. You got to have the crunch in it. You
You
have
like the
something that kind of
Waldorf. You
bites
like the
back a little.
Waldorf. You throw the walnuts in there. I want to go back to something you said. You mentioned softball, and I'm just going to say, Bill Valone is such an effective networker salesperson. He brought me out of retirement. I didn't swing a bat for about 12 and a half years, and he got me to play on a softball team. And I wound up having an absolute blast and a great group of guys, local guys, dads, and stuff like that. We had so much fun. And so even me, I'm often very closed off to things. I don't know if you've noticed that. I kind of isolate at
Yeah.
times, even though I could be, a smacked ass in my own right and walk into a room and be just fine. But I tend to isolate, and I'm not open to sort of new experiences like that. When I close the chapter, I close the chapter. But you're very effective at what you do, because you don't, going back to the thing we talked about with no for an answer, you kind of just go, well, yeah, what do you think? Do you want to, you open it up, you leave it sort of easy breezy. And that's really sort of an effective strategy.
It comes from a good place. Like I knew you would have a good time. I knew
Yeah.
you'd be in a safe space. I wanted you there, right? I knew you were a ball player. I knew we could always use an extra bat, but I just enjoy spending time with you. And people who enjoy athletics or have any kind of commonality, it's a great way to expand relationships, right? If you put that common thing in between two people, then getting to know someone becomes easier. I just genuinely wanted to get to know you more or spend more time with you. And I knew that softball experience could be a way that we would just participate in something we both really liked
Yeah.
and then expand on our relationship with that as the backdrop. And I think that's the key to a lot of networking things is like, what is the backdrop? Why are people there? What's thematically the thing that people are talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't like chamber of commerce meetings. I don't like general sessions where there is no theme or
Mm-hmm.
direction. That's when you get people who then are trying to create personas or oversell, or you get that kind of, you know, um, you get the typical salesperson who's just working the room, right?
Yeah.
It's because they're not genuinely interested in the topic. They're just genuinely there for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Networking, I believe, works best when people with a focus come together and
Mm-hmm.
go deeper in those relationships. Are you all there focused on a certain industry? Can you all somehow benefit the same client,
Mhm.
right? Is there a backdrop thematically where the knowledge that you need to have on a certain thing that people are buying or selling can be enhanced by someone else also selling that person something completely different, but it helps that person jointly. So then
Yep.
you learn about them, they learn about you, and the target audience benefits from it.
Mhm.
Um, the general sessions where everybody's in the room looking at each other like, well, who knows the rich person and can I get their phone number? It's like, it
Yeah,
doesn't
it's no
work.
good. That doesn't. It's those are
No good.
gross. So to that end, two different things. Uh, I don't want to forget either question. I want to get into this is part two, but I want to get into sort of the domestic networking of it all. Okay, so let's just put that off to the side. But if somebody genuinely wants to get involved in a networking session that's not just a card swap, and you're not just feeling sort of weird Nicky about it, and everybody's selling the same thing, and no one's going to buy it.
Yeah.
How do you find something like that, even for somebody who's changing careers or
Yeah. So I believe when you can align something that you're genuinely interested in anyway and follow that thread, you'll probably have a better chance than jamming yourself in a room where there's really no interest or you don't want to be there. For
Mhm,
example, like if you're new to sales or you change jobs and you need to meet people and you generally like to play softball, go join a softball team. Don't
mhm,
go to a chamber of commerce meeting where you have to like jam your talk track in. Go do something that you love anyway, and then show up to that thing as yourself that
mhm,
now has this new job or is now selling this new product, right? So the miracle happens when the world you live in becomes the world you work in,
mhm,
right? So think about just waking up and owning the fact that my job is to meet new people. I like what I do. I generally help people. And now all of a sudden, I can make a living doing that. And if I can walk in a room and just meet one new person that could possibly help me or I could possibly help them, and they become part of my growing network of people that I just generally know in the universe, well, then I created an amazing situation. My life and my work became one thing.
mhm.
So you have to really, you have to ask yourself, like, am I going down a road of trying to create something that's not genuine?
Yeah.
Um, and you can find those themes anywhere. Like if you get a new job and you have to go to like a tech conference, and you're selling a 5G solution, or you're selling the newest, networking capabilities with AI, or you're selling insurance,
Mhm,
go to those events and talk to people about who you are, not what you do or what you're selling. Talk to people about the teams that they love, the families, their kids. Talk to them about the sports they're interested in, and use that as a way of creating an individual identity within that network. Don't
right,
lead with the sale. Don't lead with what you do or why you're there. Lead with who you are
mhm,
and what it means for you to be there. You know, um, and that way it becomes a little bit more genuine.
yeah.
And if you do that long enough and it's still not working, then you might have to ask yourself, like, is it is it is it
Yeah, go
is it
into
meeting up
go
the right way?
go work at a lab. Go go be a phlebotomist. Go, you know,
Oh, phlebotomist.
I mean, that's a throwback to when a couple episodes back when I had a big
You
tree
are a
fell down.
phlebotomist.
No, 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 I passed out having blood taken, but that's a whole different story. So let's get back to the
You
other
need a cookie? Did you need some
I need
orange juice?
a cookie. I drank I drank enough. I drank a carafe of OJ, okay? If there was only some prosecco in there. So, but the sort of another big question is, and this is maybe more to the idea or point of the show, specifically a through line, but everything you've said has been really helpful. Is I always sort of had this, there was a stigma attached to networking, and I always had a little bit of an attitude towards it. Like I was bitter because I didn't have my old man to usher me into the golf club, the golf, you know, what the hell are they called? See, I don't even know what they're
Country
called.
clubs.
Yeah, there you go. I was never
You
allowed
really
to.
never have been. You don't
I've
even
never
know the
been in
name
one.
of it.
I've been in one. I'm just so
Bush
bad. I was never
Lord?
invited back.
No.
Me and Rodney Dangerfield never invited back. We get no respect. But I always had that thing where, I was never like going to be, raise electric and son or meeting people at the golf country club. How do you handle, what's the approach with a sort of domestic networking, if you will? Is it a lighter touch? Can you be a little more forward? What's the play there in a high
Yeah,
level
no,
way?
I think it is a lighter touch, right? So if you're networking in the community that you live, or you're trying to make a living, selling within the community your kids go to school in, right? This is definitely a lighter touch, because you just have to think about the world around you. How are you perceived as someone within the community? How do your kids get treated in school? How do you relate to the other men in town? How does your wife or spouse show up to the
Mhm.
PTA or to the things that they're doing, right? And so, yeah, I think it is a lighter touch. You can't bang people over the head in the domestic networking settings, and that's kind of the beauty of them, right? The country club thing, I think, is interesting because I think everybody knows why they're there, right?
Mhm.
And it is a manufactured reason for people to be around other people to showcase something,
Mhm.
whether it's their wealth, what they do, what they have, what they're into, and people like to do that. People
Yeah.
generally enjoy, you know, uh, being around other people and having that kind of community of whatever it might be. If you're in the country club setting, it could be wealth, it could be sports if you're on a sports team and as an adult and things like that. So, if you like being in those areas, you can't piss people off, you can't turn people off, you can't hit them with the overselling. You got to take the lighter touch. It's
Yeah.
a slow game. It's about trust. It's about truth and transparency. You don't want to be shut out of those communities. And so if you screw one person over, you're usually
Yeah.
out cold and you can't get back in. So you have to be really intentional about, you know, uh, being honest
Yeah.
and telling people the right thing and serving them in a way that allows you to continue to meet people within that world. Because that if you do that, then it's like a river that picks up speed, right? Like one person will introduce you to another person, and then someone will say, like, "Did you meet Bill? He's a great guy. He helped me out with that," and that's
Yeah.
perfect because now your network is working for you. It's starting to take shape, and your reputation can
Yeah.
lead you into those next opportunities. But yeah, it does take a softer touch. It takes a lot of
Yeah.
patience.
Yeah, it doesn't stink like a cheap suit. It's just one of those things where when you operate properly and sort of, I think the thing that I'm getting from you, and it's such a relief, and I hope that other people feel the same way, is that it's not this, just hit people over the head until they submit. It does take nuance, and I think you said, we had a conversation last week, and you said something interesting about, it's not about the first meeting. You could go ahead. Remember what you said? Do you remember what you said?
No,
Okay, I'll
I
tell
don't
you.
remember what I said
You said, and it
in the
was,
beginning of this podcast.
that's okay. It's all right. You said it's not about the first meeting. It's about what happens 5, 10 years later. It's about the actual
Yeah.
genuine relationship of it all. And you also went
Yep.
further. You went further and made a really great point that if the relationship is not going to thrive or survive, it won't. And then you move on, and again, an exploitative way or opportunistic way, but in sort of an organic thing that it just didn't work. It's okay. You move on. So
Yeah, I mean, networking is. I think there's a misconception that like once you build it, it becomes self-sustaining. It's not. It's like any ecosystem. You got to prune the trees. You got to make sure the soil's watered. It takes caring. You might get to being, you know, it, it- people drop out of networks. People pass away, right? People get new jobs, and there is a natural attrition to the network of people that you might utilize for business. New people come in, people you've relied on come out of it. And so you do constantly have to be working it so that it stays as a resource. If you
yeah,
don't care for it, if you don't it could either become overgrown with the wrong people, or it could become stale or stagnant where there's no one left that can be beneficial.
Yeah.
You can run the juice out of it. But the way to make sure that happens is going back to what I had said originally. Like, networking really is about meeting the next new person. And that's not a quick way to do it. But if you want to make a career out of, being in sales or being in a industry where accessing people is the name of the game, you have to be in it for the long term. And the first person you met on the first day of the job that you had, your first day out of college, should still talk to you 30 years later. And mine still does, right? That first person that took you in, took that job and gave you that opportunity, if you can nurture that relationship and hold on to it, you probably are not going to work for the first person that gave you the job, but it does say something about your ability to create a network if you can still be in touch with that person, still make an impact on that person. Still, maybe they navigate, maybe they go from a work person to a friend or
Yeah.
a colleague, right?
Sure.
These things change. They're not stagnant.
Yeah.
They're not stagnant. And the longevity of it matters because it will change over time. So the more people you can get that stick around and genuinely like you or find you, beneficial
Yeah.
in some way, if they know you'll help them if they ask, then you'll have more longevity out of the thing.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
The giver mindset is a very good, if you want to read books or study this, like, thinking about intentionally, like, how do you help somebody before you help yourself? Be genuinely interested in what they do. And, if there's a way that you can make an introduction that benefits them first, do it.
Yeah.
Don't ask for the introduction or don't ask for the sale. Give them something first that is generally going to be helpful to them. And if you do that enough times, then, people come back to help you.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. Well, that's a great segue to our sort of final piece. We like to do something called My Old Man Used to Say. Do you have a piece of advice from your dad or a piece of wisdom from anywhere else you'd like to share?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because, like, everybody loses their parent or everybody loses their father at some point, right? Unfortunately, you lost yours early. Some people lose theirs when they're 80 or 90 years old and they can see their parents grow older. And some people then they lose their father when the idealization of them dies, right? This perception that your dad is this person that gets everything right, does everything right, says everything right, has all the answers. When you become an adult and you start realizing that that's not true, and the
Yeah.
idea of what that person was to you starts to change or dies, if you will, that's the moment of individuation. You have to recognize that as a before and after.
Yeah.
And, my father was, he treated me like Baba Booey on the Howard Stern show, like, don't be stupid, you moron. You know what I mean? Like, and I thought growing up that was like, oh, that, he's so funny. But then I realized,
Yeah.
like, he's just kind of borrowing it from something here on the radio.
Right.
And as a kid, you're like, okay, I don't know how to not
Right.
be stupid. Sorry.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great message, and I just don't think he had the tools to, like, advise me differently. He
Yeah.
probably thought he was being helpful and funny, right? One of the things I would say is, like, the shoulding, like, hey, you should do this, you should do that. My dad used the word should a lot. And I think he was trying to give me advice and guidance, but he didn't know how to do it for my benefit, right? Like,
Yeah.
generally giving me advice that would benefit me, not what it meant for him to be the advice giver.
Yeah.
And so, it's hard to differentiate that. But as you get older, you start realizing, like, wait a minute, this voice that I'm listening to in my head, it's not really mine. It's a
Yeah.
narrative from when I was a kid. And do I still believe in what that says or not? So the shoulds and the don't be stupid, you moron, I think is ones that I keep with me to these days. But, I think he was trying his best.
Well, look, those are genes I think you grew out of, and you have to just toss them in the donation box. Those genes, get rid of them. Don't worry about it anymore.
That's why I move so fast at these networking
That's
events.
it.
I don't want to, my old jeans can't catch me.
That's it. When I make those comfortable, casual khakis and stuff like that you can move pretty
Oh my
nimbly
God.
in.
They put the spandex in jeans. If you're a man wearing jeans that have spandex in them, you got to hand in your card, man. You got to just give it back.
I guess I'll mail my card to your home address
Mail it in.
because
Mail it
right
in. You
now I
can't.
am super
Spandex
comfortable.
are for the ladies, Andrew.
I
It
hear
just
you.
is. It will
I
be
hear
and
you.
always is.
Well, Bill, I have to say this was really great. This was a wealth of knowledge, and for me, something that you cleared up a couple things. Truly, to this day, as I still evolve as a human, as a professional, it was very helpful. So I really, really appreciate you being on. You shared
I
so
appreciate
much.
it. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah,
I love you and support you. And I think networking is one of these things, whether you're in sales or you're not, take a moment to think about it. How do you represent yourself in the community you live? How
yeah,
do you show up at work? What are the messages you're sending to people? And that's networking, right? It
yeah.
is really about creating a inventory of people that see you through the lens you want to see yourself in. And it could be applied to anything. And if you're growing up without the guidance, um, it's hard to create that narrative for yourself. So look to your mentors. Look towards people who've done it before. Ask for help. Don't be embarrassed. Just stumble through it and you'll be fine.
That's great. I couldn't have said it better. Guys, thanks for joining us. That was the Fatherless Cheat Sheet. Check us out Thursdays, new episodes, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. You can find us anywhere. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Bill, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks a lot.